All right, so both of our runners are underway. So we start off with the prologue, and the prologue is the most basic chapter imaginable. Like, we just kind of hop on through this level while the crow tells us that we're able to jump, we're able to climb, and we're able to dash. So one thing that you're going to notice is that the timers in both of these lovely little cassettes on the front page here, those are going to pause on occasion. So Celeste uses in-game time to time their runs. The game itself has a very accurate in-game timer, and so the community just decided to use the in-game time as opposed to the real time. So there may be instances where maybe a runner has to take a break between chapters, which is completely understandable. This is a very demanding game. It's recommended to rest your hands a little bit, maybe take a drink of water, collect your thoughts. But yeah, there's not going to be a punishment for taking a break between chapters unless you go over 90 seconds. All right, so after the first chapter, where we're introduced to the very basic movements, after the prologue, where we're introduced to very basic movements, now we're in chapter 1, where now we're using the more complex movements that are both in the game from the very start, but the game also teaches you very later on in some of the the bonus data of the game. This game has a lot of bonus content, a lot of hidden secrets. There's a lot more to this game than just the any % route that both these runners are going to be on. So you've already seen them so the main pieces of speed tech that we're going to be using are these wall bounces, where we jump against the wall while we're in a dash at just the right time. That gives us a little bit more height and a little bit more speed as we're rising through the ground. What you just saw there on Rozan's side is called a hyper dash, or an extended hyper dash rather. So the standard hyper dash, basically you just hold down while you're doing your dash, and you get to go across the screen with very great speed and kind of a lower arc. And extended hyper dash means that we jump at just the right time to retain a dash, and kind of so that we can cover even more ground from that. And very nicely executed spike jumps. So spike jumps are a kind of precise trick so basically what they're doing is they're kind of jumping off of a spike there, for some neutral wall jumps as I'm trying to explain the spike. Again, this is a very fast-paced game. While I'm talking about something that one runner is doing, you're going to see the other runner on the other side do 12 cool things. So yeah, it's a very fun run to watch if you've never seen this before. And meanwhile, GabxRozan starting on the old site chapter. So old site is kind of another kind of basic chapter, kind of getting you in the groove of things, but still do extended hyper dashes, especially this one right here where you have to fit yourself. Oh no, GabxRozan taking a safety strat there. And again, the strat that I was trying to describe, it's not a guarantee that every runner is going to go for every strat. There are several strats that are quote unquote optimal, but there's also a wide variety of ways to get through every single room in this game. We can see Terra going for the thing that I was trying to describe earlier. And yeah, just trying to thread the needle so you can get to that dash crystal and jump through. So yeah, every runner kind of has every kind of trick that they're comfortable with and that they're not comfortable with, and it's really interesting to see what they put in their own mix. All right, so Rozan is on the battle line portion of this chapter. Basically, the battle line portion, we are chased around by this shadow version of ourselves. Our character's name is Madeline. The antagonist here is named Battleline. So we're just trying to so Battleline Battleline copies our movements on a 3-second delay. So we just have to we kind of routed our movements, especially in the screen that GabxRozan's on. We've kind of routed our movement so that we're not only moving fast, but we're also avoiding battle line. We're just skirting under the edge of that battle line so that we can continue living, because everything in this game that can hurt us will kill us. And it's a one-hit KO all throughout. Meanwhile, Terra's in their own battle line chase. And there's a lot of different screen lengths in this game. So one of the themes of this speedrun is that you're going to die fairly often. Like, it's just like a natural course of run. Like, even like the most optimized version possible will take an intentional death, as we'll see maybe in chapter 3. So you just have to like learn not just to like, you know, recover from your deaths, but also like kind of know when to die, when to take it safe. Like, any death in that battle line chase is fairly costly because you have to go through the whole screen again. Yeah. Right. Meanwhile, Rozan is out of chapter 3, and Terra's not that far behind. But chapter 3, the Celestial Resort Hotel, or just Celestial Resort, I guess, that's gonna represent the first major point of divergence in this run, because now, as you just saw Rozan deal with, we have these Dust Bunny enemies back and forth on a cycle. So the object of this level is not just to get through the level, but also, like, you know, get through these cycles, get through them quickly. Yeah, so you can see Rozan kind of moving through this level very well. He knows exactly the way that all these Dust Bunnies are going to be moving. So these Dust Bunnies move on a, like I said, these Dust Bunnies move on a cycle, which means that we can predict how they're going to move. Like, it's not, or not even predict, we know how they're going to move because there's no RNG in this game. It's just going to be the same thing every single time when you enter a screen. And if you happen to die on a screen, it's going to give you the same thing every time you die. So just knowing the cycles and being able to move quickly through those cycles is very important to this segment of the run, because yeah, this is a very difficult chapter to deal with casually, and it's a very difficult chapter when you're first learning. But like, once you have some of these strats down, it can be supremely satisfying to just make it through all these screens very quickly. Alright, so Rozan making pretty good headway on this level, and Terra's not too far behind right now. And Rozan moving quite efficiently through this huge mess section, so yeah, we'll see how they continue to deal with this chapter, because... And again, Rozan kind of taking a little bit safe in that section, just wants to make sure that he doesn't die to anything very silly. Respect that. And meanwhile, Terra moving quite nicely through the huge mess section. You know, like, this can be a very difficult like thing to learn and like a difficult thing to like train yourself to practice. But like, being able to like dash and wall bounce through those books is hugely important, because that's multiple seconds of time save that you can have there by just efficient movement. All right, Terra nailing that second spike jump first try. Cool to see. And Rozan is through the second section of this huge mess chapter. So huge mess. This segment of chapter 3. Basically, there are 3 paths. You can take them in any order that you want, but speedrunners will generally take them in the order that we're seeing on both sides right now, where you're kind of clearing them so that when you exit the portion of the level, you're standing right next to Mr. Oshiro, who's this little ghost boy that we've been following around for this portion of the run. Oh man, nice save from Rozan right there. Just kind of neutral jumping, kind of didn't land directly on the platform, but was able to like recognize where he was and just kind of keep his cool and recover that. That was really nice. And meanwhile, we have Terra moving, nope, not still keeping pace with Rozan here. Yeah, got through that last huge mess section really nicely, really cleanly, and he'll be joining Rozan in the elevator shaft portion of the, again, more tight cycles, more really efficient movement. So yeah. Alright, so Rozan taking a little bit of a safer strat in this room here. We'll see if Terra goes for the alternate strat. So that's the first intentional death that we take in this run. So there is like a path on the top of that screen to kind of get through the rest of that room without running into the dust bunnies again, but you know, we're speedrunners. We want to get somewhere as fast as possible, and it turns out that the fastest way to get to the other side of that screen is just to take a death, retry, and just get back to our run jumps. And meanwhile, Terra's going for the riskier hyperdash strat. Oh man, okay, recovers, nails it. Yeah, gets it on the second try. So those hyperdash that he made that's a very, tough thing to get down. Like, because it requires you to not just like, know when on the platforms is hyperdash, but also to control your hyperdash so that you're not like running into any of the dust bunnies. So very nice to see Terra nail that second try. And meanwhile, GabxRozan is on the Oshiro fight, which Terra21 is about to start. So again, like Oshiro, a lot of plot happens, we make him mad, and now he chases us. And so at intervals, ooh, and that's yeah, you never want to take a death at the end of the screen. That screen with like the many dash crystals aligned in a row, that's one of the like better deaths to take if you have to take a death in this part of the run. But yeah, Oshiro is going to kind of hover on the left side of the screen. He'll flash a lightning bolt because he's tracking our vertical position, and then he'll dash at us horizontally. So we kind of have to route out our movements so that we're going to avoid Oshiro while still moving fast. And yeah, Terra taking a death at the end of the screen, again, like, yeah, has to take a little bit of a safer, slower strat just to like avoid another death. Might be an accidental bop on Oshiro. Maybe we're not expecting that one, but yeah. Gets through just a couple rooms behind, and this room it's one of the few make or break rooms of the run, because yeah, any death here, especially like the further you get into the screen, it can definitely like be a significant time waste. Just not because like you're dying, and dying is just generally slow, but also because like at this point you've already like invested like 10-15 seconds. So a death here, not only have you wasted that 10-15 seconds, now you're stuck there, very good recovery, and Terra gets through. So not only have you wasted so like creating more seconds because you have to get to that point of the level again. So but Terra's through. He's going to be joining Rozan in Chapter 4. And Chapter 4, Chapter 4 is kind of notable for like a couple of its like more frustrating mechanics, I want to say, with like the wind and these little cloud trampolines. The cloud trampolines can be very hard to kind of get down. Like, it's very hard to like get the timing down, but GabxRozan doesn't have any problem with that. Of course he doesn't. He's a very talented runner. Yeah, and this level is also notable for the wind, which we see Terra dealing with rather nicely. But yeah, the wind is going to force you back. So when you dash, so we're trying to dash as much. That was weird, but Terra's through. But yeah, the wind is kind of forcing us back. So if we dash, we cancel the effect of the wind. So basically, in any windy section, we're just trying to dash as much as we can to counteract the effect of the wind and continue moving as quickly, as efficiently as possible. All right, meanwhile, Rozan getting through this part of the level rather nicely as far as I can see. Going for this really precise strat where you're trying to, so that move that you saw Rozan pull there is called a wave dash, because it's kind of similar to, I don't know if anyone's ever played Melee, but like it's kind of similar to the wave dash maneuver in Melee, where we dash into the ground at an angle and then jump. And when we jump, we not only get the hyper dash, but we generally retain another dash for us to use later. So yeah, it's another very precise movement, and he tried to do that off of like a one tile platform, which is additional preciseness, but again, made it look easy. And while I was saying that, did another 12 really dope things. I mean, obviously Terra going for the same wave dash strat that Rozan was going for. Doesn't quite get doesn't quite time it right to retain the dash, but still gets through without a death, and that's kind of the most important thing. While Rozan is in the harsh wind section. So here, whereas like in previous segments with the wind, dash was kind of like we were just using dash to move quickly. Now a dash is required to move at all because this wind is forcing us back at just like incredible force. And now like the only way that we have to get through the screen is by dashing and hyper dashing. But again, Rozan getting through it okay, dodging the snowballs that come in from nowhere to wreck your day, and he should be getting out of this level in short order here. So Rozan makes it to the screen, that last screen rather nicely, and he is through to Chapter 5, and Terra is about to climb up that wall, and he should be getting into the harsh wind section. Yep, they are in the harsh wind section. Alright, so Chapter 5, aka the Mirror Temple, it's one of the cooler segments to watch, simply because like you get really cool movement, like you saw on those first couple screens here. You get a couple of really cool tricks like Surge Skip and this red bubble skip that's about to come up for Rozan. Yeah, wave dashing through that like it's nothing. Very cool. And you also get Seekers, which we'll explain in due time. Meanwhile, Terra. Okay, very nice snowball avoidance right there. And just as I say that, yeah, again, snowballs are kind of like Oshiro, where they'll track our vertical position and they'll come in from the right side of the screen from the left. But unlike with Oshiro, there's no like visual cue for when they come. They just kind of come at a regular interval. So you just have to like, use your strats in these rooms and kind of trust that the way that you move will take you out of the snowball's path. Yes, Terra recovering and gets through that room. Now in these last few screens of the harsh wind. Meanwhile, Rozan Mirror Temple taking this dev intended skip. That's kind of intended for you to gather one of the collectibles that's in every single level. Again, there's a lot more to this game than the end percent that we're seeing. Kind of like maybe we'll see a strawberry grab from Terra here. Unnecessary strawberry gets a swag berry. Heck yeah, Terra. Terra making it to Chapter 5 in style, and Rozan, still making good time himself. Yep, gets through that long section with the red bubbles and the spikes, and the Seekers in this really cool dream sequence that, if you're just watching the 70% run, kind of comes out of nowhere, but again, there's a lot of plot that happens. This makes sense in the context of the story. Yeah, so Seekers, their job is to seek out Madeline. They can break through these red blocks, and as the game just taught us, and like everything else in this game, one hit KO on Madeline. So once Rozan gets through these first couple screens, we'll be seeing how they deal with the Seekers that are scattered throughout this level. Meanwhile, Terra having a little bit of trouble setting up this wave dash, but again, it's definitely where. Yep, gets it on that try. Yeah, well done. Yeah, that's kind of a thing where like, even if you're not like nailing that strat, it's all about recovering from your own mistakes and being able to adjust to what you're able to do, and just like keeping consistent with your strats, like Dance with Ubranya. Yeah, so Terra keeping true to like what he knows how to do, like not worth it for him to like go back to a safety strat when he knows the speed strat, and that's again, it's really cool to see like these styles kind of coming into play here. Meanwhile, Rozan getting through the Seeker section. As you've kind of seen, the Seekers will kind of charge at you, and they can also activate these switches. So Rozan just barely misses the strat that he's going for there, where, ideally he would want that Seeker to hit that block that's kind of hidden on the bottom of the screen here. But yeah, he adjusts nicely. Like, the Seeker section is one of the cooler runs to watch, like, just because like it's one of the few spaces in this game that allows for like on-the-fly improvisation and like strat making, just because we kind of know what we want the Seekers to do, but we don't necessarily know what they're going to do when we interact with them. So yeah, watching people react to what the Seekers get in this goal, and meanwhile, most important skip in the game, Rozan doesn't get it first try. But yeah, Surge Skip is a simple little reverse door dash, and then just a dash over a ton of spikes, and you save at least a minute 15. And like, I think someone like went through and did search and decide and like figured out that it saves like, you know, a minute 15 seconds that search skip compared to like just doing optimal play through that search section that we just skipped where we have to grab 2 keys. But you know, again, if you're a runner of this game, you know that you're gonna die, and like the search sections are about as hard as anything else in the game. So you know, we say it's about a minute 15 seconds, but realistically you're saving like a minute 45 to 2 minutes with that one skip. So very nice. And he gets to the Theo section as Terra21 starts their encounter with the Seekers. Yeah, so Terra using strats to have the Seekers help them out with some of the work. Again, didn't quite get the Seeker's cooperation there, but again, adjusts nicely to it. And yeah, Seeker just kind of shot off into the distance. I don't know what the Seeker was trying to do there, but definitely didn't want to help us out right there. And then Rozan is in the Theo rescue section. So Theo is one of the NPCs in this game that we don't really, again, we skip every single cutscene in this run, so we don't really talk to Theo, but he's a cool guy. He's trapped in a crystal. We have to save him. We can't dash while we're holding him in this crystal, though, so what we have to do is we kind of have to throw him, catch him while we're dashing, and because after we catch him, we'll still retain our dash momentum, as we can see from Rozan's side. Like, you know, just like these really quick inputs. Like, this is like all of a sudden, like, you know, we've just been dashing, and now we have to like hit all the buttons that we have on the controller to use, like, all at once. So yeah, it's a very demanding portion of the run, but there's nothing else really in the run like it. And ooh, gets kind of stuck in the corner by that Seeker. Yeah, again, like, this section is all about like not only knowing like what you want to do, but like knowing how to deal with the Seekers when they. Oh man, okay, yeah, gets through that screen, just barely nicks that Seeker, but bop the Seeker through to the section where we end the chapter by throwing our friend at the eyeball, like you do. Meanwhile, Terra is about to start their own Theo section, so we'll be seeing how they deal with the not shell jumps, but like crystal throws, as Rozan starts in Chapter 6, Reflections. One cool thing about the Theo section is that he, like right there, he told you crushing it, the door didn't stand a chance. This is the section where the game will sometimes offer you gentle encouragement, and it feels good. It feels good that the game like wants you to do well. Alright, so Rozan starting Reflection with this feather sequence. So feathers, basically they let you fly, as you just saw, and feathers also give you 360-degree movement. So Madeline herself, that's the main character of this game, she can only move in 8 directions, you know, up, down, left, right, and all the diagonals. But Feather, you get the full analog movement. So if runners are using a controller with an analog stick, they will typically switch to analog stick for those seconds, just because that gives them a better ability to control Madeline. Yeah, and that was some really nice improv from Terra there. That Seeker kind of just like bodied up on them at the end of that screen, but they were able to adjust, got some dashes, and most importantly, didn't die. So yeah, really dope stuff. And Rozan coming across these crush blocks, which make a delightful noise, produced by a man named Kevin, so the community affectionately refers to them as Kevin Blocks. So basically, like, Kevin Blocks, Kevin Blocks, crush blocks, whatever you want to call them, they crush things, and they also move at incredible speed. And if we jump off of them while they are moving, Madeline too moves with incredible speed. So we will often see runners using the momentum from the crush blocks to propel themselves forward. And we may be seeing that for a really cool skip coming up here. Or not skip, but like a really cool like little speed tech. It was not up and go for this one, but And Terra, yeah, they got through chapter 6, and they are through to Reflections as well. Both runners in the same chapter. So Terra keeping it relatively close, which is what you want to see in what may just be like a de facto elimination match. Yeah, didn't quite keep the feather there. Kind of ran into one of the things. Yeah, that's one of the reasons that you want to be precise with your feather movements. Like, if you run into a wall at all, the feather will just, like, bounce, and you won't have any control. Like, so, yeah. Yeah, and Rozan just... Okay, solid recovery on the second try at this screen. Yeah, one of the things about Reflection is that, like, this first part of the level, like, everything kind of... Like, when you're experienced enough at this game, like, everything can kind of feel simple, but it's really very difficult, like, really very precise, so every death, like, can definitely feel, like, kind of crushing, and it's just like, oh man, I should have done that, but, like, again, this is just, like, this game just, like, being very... Like, this game can just, like, throw things at you, and, you know, it's... Yeah. Yeah, like, this game is kind of all about your ability to, like, from, like, your mistakes as much as it is about your ability to, like, make these jumps in the first place. Like, you know, this G, so, and that's good and bad, because, like, you know, you don't get half an hour into a run and just have the game decide, hey, no, you don't get to win today. But you also are responsible for everything that you do, so your ability to just, like, say, okay, that's the thing that happened, I've got to move on, that's key. Oh, Rozan went for the battle line boost there, which would have been... Yeah, if you move very precisely and get the right boost off that last crush block, you just, like, fly all the way through that screen. Whereas, like, Rozan, they almost got it, but they just barely corner. But yeah, they still went through that screen with incredible speed, and they're off to the battle line fight, which has one this game. All the songs in this game are phenomenal, but, like, everyone just kind of catches on to this song just because, like, it has words, and the words are kind of catchy. Those words being, hey ya. Alright, so meanwhile, Terra. So Reflection is also one of the few parts in the run that has, like, diverging paths. Terra made one of the few divergences that you will see runners make where they went top path on the last divergence. And top path is technically faster if you move through it correctly, so yeah, there's a reason behind, like, every decision that people made. Yeah, a bit of a misstep at the start of the screen for Rozan, but again, they're able to recuperate and they make it through. And yeah, dying at the beginning of the screen, that's... If you have to die somewhere, you want to die at the start of the screen rather than the end, just because, like, at the start of the screen, you just go, alright, because it's only, like, a few 3-second time loss. Like, dying in this game is quick. It's like a short animation, short screen wipe, and again, you can even make it faster by mashing jump after you die and skipping, like, this little stuff when she dies. But a death threat like Rozan just took right there, that can definitely be costly, because now you have to redo everything that you just did, so that's like, oh man, and I kind of feel like I'm responsible for these troubles, so we're gonna move over to Terra's side of the screen. Yeah, so Terra's about to start their battle line fight, as GabxRozan is in the last screen of the second third, if I recall correctly. So one thing that you might be seeing on Terra's side, so again, the main speed attack for battle line is just don't die. You want to get through those screens, that's objective 1, but another thing that you're going to be seeing is them trying to get to the ground as fast as possible, because everything that Celeste runners do is done with, like, some interaction on the ground. Like, that's how we hyper dash, that's how we dash jump, is just, like, you know, jumping from the ground. Like, when we're kind of floating in the air, like, we're just floating and we're falling and we're just waiting. So they're holding down to fall faster, and they're trying to get to the ground so that they can continue chaining this movement together. So yeah, meanwhile, GabxRozan in the remix section of the battle line fight, where the music and sounds even cooler. Yeah, that's a really cool wall bound strat. And typically you want to like land on that last platform so that it kind of like the momentum carries you upwards, but the wall bounce does the trick all the same, and Rozan is through to the last few screens of battle line here. It's the okay, yeah. It didn't quite hit the bumper the way that they want. Still managed to take it to the screen, taking a couple quick deaths. Alright, and once again, we're going to be moving over to Terra side because they are making their way through the battle line fight rather nicely so far, it looks like. Alright, so Rozan has defeated Battle Line, and Battle Line being the bad part of herself, she learned self-acceptance, and with the power of self-acceptance comes a double dash, you know, like happens. So basically in the next level that we're going to be seeing, the summit, we're going to be seeing this double dash used to kind of remix some of the earlier chapters that we encountered. So we'll see a lot of existing mechanics return. Meanwhile, Terra is in the cutscene portion of the battle line fight, which means that their own remix portion, the last third, is going to be coming up in short order for them. Okay, so Rozan has started in the summit as Terra is still making their way through the battle line fight. So, you know, obviously the summit is about tying everything back together. Like, you can kind of hear the riff that you heard during the prologue as kind of like the theme of this level kind of recurring throughout. And you'll also see mechanics from the previous chapters kind of reintroduced. So this is kind of the reflection portion of the summit, because like you just have a lot of spikes and a lot of movement around those spikes. Like, it's very short because we just saw reflection being the summit base, kind of. Yeah, reflection is the first chapter that we encounter in the summit, just because like it's the bottom of the mountain. You know, it's a metaphor and whatnot. Anyway, we're back to the city now. Yeah, so Rozan making their way through this, you know, second section of the summit level, while Terra gets their own millennial pink hair and double dash, and they're going to be joining Rozan in the summit, maybe about 2 segments behind. So yeah, this is not, I wouldn't consider this an insurmountable lead for Rozan. It is a pretty solid one, but again, like, these first few sections of the summit are pretty basic. Like, they're kind of the first few things of the summit that runner is going to be mastering. There's definitely going to be some points for some room for divergence in later portions of the summit chapter. So yeah, Terra's making their way through the reflection areas. I'm getting getting some nice like little movement there. As Rozan is in the chapter 2 section with some of the cooler movement that we're ever gonna see in this run. Alright, nice understanding. Kind of had to take a moment to pause to reflect on, like, okay, how do I get myself out of this jam? And then remembering, okay, there's a spring on the bottom, I just have to let myself fall there. So yeah, it's very nice. Like, it's very nice of him to like take that second just like collect his thoughts and make it through that screen. Meanwhile, Terra starts their section out with a nice little reverse dash there, reverse hyper dare, and gets a wall bounce to kind of like skip a bunch of zippers. Can skip a lot of these zippers in the Chapter 1 remix though. And yeah, they are making their way solidly through the 500 meters. Alright, so 1500 meters for Rozan. This is the return of the Dust Bunnies. It's also the return of this, like, you know, little ghostly theme music here. So yeah, again, it's like more kind of moving quickly through these cycles, and again, like Chapter 3, okay, it takes a death about the halfway point of that room, I want to say. Yeah, deaths here can be, ooh, yikes. Yeah, deaths here can definitely be costly, just because, like, again, you're gonna have to go through this whole room again. You have to adjust with like a new cycle that these guys are gonna be on. Yeah, makes it through that first really long room. We'll see how they deal with the next room here. Going for the crystal. And definitely took it safe before that second little bouncy dude. And again, you definitely want to like take it safe there because like at that point at that point of the screen, that would have been like super costly. They get through. They're out of 1500, relatively scot-free, and they're going to be moving on to the Bridge remix, making their way through the Chapter 2 remix. Alright, so Rozan gets through that last screen, and the last screens do kind of have a way to kind of psych you out, as we might explain once, and the last screen is 2,000 or 2,500 meters, but again, Gabx gets through that really nicely. Yeah, taking this like a secret path through this part of the level, so that path is meant casually to just be for the strawberry, but speedrunners use it because it's a lot faster than taking the intended path to that level, which is just this like really hot mess of spikes and moving platforms. I think I saw one runner use that route, and I'm like, okay, no wonder we use the strawberry route. That's much easier to just use those little pink clouds. Alright, Rozan not going for the full auto-scroller skip, but does skip a healthy portion of that auto-scroller. Yeah, it's very safe, and that obviously saves some time, not like sitting on that platform. Ooh, and takes a death on this mostly unskippable auto-scroller here, but again, just gotta bounce back, just gotta do what you do. Alright. Alright, meanwhile we got Terra making their way out of 1500 on the second to last screen. It's a nice little swingy wall bounce there. Alright, and they are out, and yep, they are about a full 2,000 meter section behind GabxRozan at this point. Alright, and Rozan, getting out of 2,000, is entering 2,500 meters, which, a lot like Mirror Temple, has some of the cooler and definitely one of the more notable skips in this game. Yeah, so we got this like little entry to kind of skip like a dash block cycle. We get this like really cool momentum off of that one dash block. We get the two cool wave dashes. Like, you know, get through that room really quickly. We get a key skip here to avoid going through this like long and dumb screen with a bunch of spikes, like 2 neutral jumps, and that saves like I think like 5-6 seconds, less time than you'd expect, but certainly enough time to make it worth it. Yeah, this section is just like so cool. Like every single move that you make through this portion of Summit is just amazing, I want to say. Oh, and Terra went for auto-scroller skip, but doesn't, just barely miss the ending platform. But again, sticking to their guns, sticking to what they know, gets the first part, gets the wall bounce, they are through that screen. Excellent job on the second try there. Meanwhile, GabxRozan going for door skip, nothing but respect for that. Alright, so Rozan clears the last screen to 2,500, which is very long. There's a lot of opportunities to kind of psych yourself out, but he gets through it. He's on to 3,000 meters, which is the first kind of new portion of the Summit, I want to say, because it has its own aesthetic, it has its own like version of the music, and you know, like the drums are going to kick in, and it's going to be really, really cool. Yeah, he's getting through it rather nicely. So now we're in the downdraft section. So Whereas like Golden Ridge 2000 meters had this like harsh wind. Now we have harsh wind pushing us downward rather than to the side. So yeah, you see like a lot of rapid movement here, just like a lot of hyper dashes, a lot of wall bounces, simply to like counteract the like increased gravity of these levels and getting through these screens quickly. And meanwhile, Terra in 2500 meters still keeping a respectable distance from GabX. Yep, gets the key skip there. And meanwhile, Rozan with some pretty solid movement all throughout the downdraft section. Alright, Terra threads the needle and going for door skip. Runs into the last pillar, or I guess I should call them doors since this is door skip. Nope, yep. We get double door skip, and that's absolutely respectable. Don't do anything just for the memes. Just kind of get through the game as fast as possible. Door skip's silly anyway. Like, those are pillars. They're not even doors. What are we doing? Alright, so Rozan is on to the updraft portion of the summit. So, yeah, updraft is, like you might have inferred from the fact it's called updraft, is the opposite of downdraft, where now we have this, like, decreased gravity, so it's very floaty. You can kind of, like, hang in the air for a long, long time, which is... Yeah, so the challenge here, there's, like, a few screens that are, like... There's a few checkpoints, so we see that, like, instead of like moving through screens, we're kind of moving through checkpoints. These screens are like very long, so we just marking progress. And updraft has some of the longer checkpoints in this level. Yeah, Rozan through it with nary a problem, and yeah, they'll be going on to the last 5 flags, which will all have the normal gravity that we've been playing with for this game. Rozan loses the timing on that last wall jump of flag 4 for a second there, but gets it back, and he is on to flag 3. And meanwhile, Terra, they made it through downdraft before I even had a chance to mention they were on downdraft, so yeah, they've been making really good time through this 3,000 meter segment, and yep, they can play 18 there on to 17 in very short order, and playing with the fringes of those spikes, but they are through. Meanwhile, Rozan at the very last jump of flag 2 gets to flag 1, and yep, he should be closing out the victory here. Yep, avoids those dangerous spikes on flag 1 and finishes the run, gets the win. Time of 40 minutes, 38 seconds. GG to GabxRozan. Yeah, so I do believe that was Rozan's last race of the group stages, so that's his 4th win, or their 4th win, so they should be moving on to the brackets, pending further results. We'll kind of have to stay tuned with their progress, but 4 wins is kind of safe. And meanwhile, Terra, finishing out the run. Yeah, again, their listed PB on SRC is a 47, so they're definitely on pace to match that. I didn't quite get a chance to confirm what their PB was before the run, so hopefully we get a chance to see him finish this out. And real quick, we'll switch audio. Or wait, no, we are using. Okay. Yeah, it gets through flag 6 with relative ease. It's time to grab flag 5. Oh man. Yeah, that was a rough one. Like, I think they moved with the feather a little bit too fast to kind of hit the bottom of those spikes like that. It's always kind of a bummer when you take a death from going too fast, but, you know, Terra recovers, gets it on the second try. Oof. Yeah, and elects to kind of plunge all the way down there, which, you know, respect. Sometimes it's faster to retry, but other times you just kind of want the catharsis of seeing the character kind of taking the plummet all the way to the bottom. So, you know, again, respect for that, I guess. Alright, so Terra on flag 1. It's through the last of the spikes, and they have finished out the run with a time of 43:21. Yeah, second place in the race, but, you know, so get your GGs in the chat for Terra. That was a really solid run all throughout, so yeah, really great performance from both runners. Yeah, if you like what you saw out of either of these runners, I would highly recommend following their Twitch channels, because, you know, they're obviously, like, really talented runners. They're, like, you know, we've already covered that Terra runs, like, a variety of games, not just Celeste and Rozan. You know, this is his first speed game, but who knows what he could pick up in the future, so definitely recommended follows for both of these. Okay, just take a moment to see if either runner is available for an interview before we see if we should close the proceedings. So 1 moment here. Okay, so I don't see any confirmation from Rozan in the chat, nor do I see him in the Discord setup channel. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna start closing up shop here. So if you enjoyed the Celeste Tournament action that you saw here, feel free to check out any of the other races that we've got going on today. We may still have a 4-way race going on over on Speed Gaming Tube. One between Ruby Jackson and Gix, and the other one between Galaxy and Melee. Otherwise, at 6 o'clock on Speed Gaming 2, so immediately following the race that might currently be on Speed Gaming 2, we'll have another quad race with Zinpars and Vorpal on one side, Bride Guy and Gamma Function on the other. 7 o'clock, we'll have Flare Bear and Sky Rage over on Speed Gaming 2. And we have a couple more races later tonight that have yet to be assigned to free stream. So we'll see. So just keep an eye on schedule if you want to see if like those are getting restream. Otherwise, there's going to be more races going on throughout the entire week. This is going to be the last week of the group stages, so we're going to see a lot of runners maybe trying to get their races scheduled in last minute. Like I know there's a couple races that have yet to like even play one match. All right, yep, we're getting confirmation that Rozan is microphone shy, so yeah, we'll be closing down proceedings. And yeah, if you want to see more, not just Celeste action, but more hot speed content, be sure to follow all the Speed Gaming channels, Speed Gaming 236, and the foreign language restreams like Deutsch, Espanol, and Francais. And yeah, be sure to follow the runners. It looks like the bot didn't put the command in chat, but you know, you can just enter in their I think their Twitch names are on the screen, so you can just enter those in. And yeah, this has been Celeste Any on behalf of the Celeste Any Tournament. I've been Artie Walsh V. Have great days.